All right, let's talk about snoring. If you've ever been on the receiving end of it, you know it is so much more than just a noise, right? It's this nightly disruption. It can put a huge strain on a relationship. And as we're about to find out, it could actually be a warning sign for something much, much more serious.
So, is a sound turning your bedroom into a battleground? I mean, it seems like a simple question, doesn't it? But for millions, and maybe for you, the answer is a big, tired, frustrated yes. That sound, it's not just annoying, it's like an intruder. It takes what should be a peaceful space and turns it into a conflict zone every single night.
In this quote, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. Snoring turns bedtime into a nightly battle instead of a romantic retreat. Think about that. Your bedroom is supposed to be your sanctuary, a place to connect. But when snoring crashes the party, it feels less like a retreat and a whole lot more like you're gearing up for a fight.
Okay, so let's really get into this idea of a nightly battle. Because the real problem here isn't just about losing a few hours of sleep. It's about the hidden emotional cost that it takes on your relationship.
And you can see exactly how this becomes a really vicious cycle. It all starts with disrupted sleep, for both of you. Then what happens? You're both exhausted and irritable the next day. That fatigue leads to stress, poor focus, and then you get this awful emotional loop. The snorer feels guilty, right? And their partner, well, they start to feel resentful. It's a tough spot to be in, and you can just imagine how, night after night, that just wears away at your connection.
But listen, the strain on your relationship, that's really only half the story. We absolutely have to talk about what that noise actually is. Because if the snoring is loud and it's happening all the time, well, that's often your body's way of sending up a massive red flag.
And that red flag, it very often points to something called obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA. This is a legitimate medical condition where the airway literally closes off and breathing just stops for short periods all night long. You know that really loud snore or sometimes a gasp for air? That's the sound of the body desperately fighting to breathe again. Pretty scary when you think about it that way.
So here's the bottom line, and this is really important. Ignoring OSA means you're ignoring some huge health risks. We're talking direct links to high blood pressure, heart disease, even complications with diabetes. Not to mention, the risk of having an accident goes way up because of how sleepy you are during the day. This is exactly why we can't just write off snoring as just snoring.
Okay, so you're faced with this struggle every night. What's the go-to move for so many couples? Yep, sleeping in separate rooms. It feels like the only option to get some peace. But, and this is a big but, it's a Band-Aid, not a cure. It's not the real solution.
And this really breaks it down perfectly. Look at the difference. Sleeping apart, sure, you get temporary quiet, but you lose intimacy, and more importantly, you're completely ignoring the health risk. On the other hand, actually solving the problem, well, that's a permanent fix. It brings back closeness, and it tackles the health issue head-on. It's literally the difference between just surviving and actually getting on a path to wellness.
And this right here, this is probably the most important shift in thinking we can make. We need to stop asking where everyone should sleep. The real question, the one that changes everything, is why is the snoring happening? Because as soon as you start asking why, you open the door to real solutions. And the best part? The good news is that modern treatments for sleep apnea are amazing. They're super effective, and honestly, they're way less scary or intimidating than you might think.
So the number one top-tier treatment for OSA is something called CPAP therapy. That stands for continuous positive airway pressure. Let's break down how this thing actually works. It's actually pretty brilliant in its simplicity. You have a small, quiet machine that delivers a gentle, steady stream of air through a mask you wear while you sleep. And that little bit of air pressure is just enough to keep your airway open. That's it. It stops the airway from collapsing, which means no more snoring and no more of those scary moments where you stop breathing. The result? Your body finally gets the deep sleep and all the oxygen it's been starving for.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, because a lot of people have some old school ideas about CPAP. So let's bust some myths. Myth number 1, they're loud and bulky, right? Wrong. That's totally outdated. Today's machines are whisper quiet and super compact. Myth number 2, you have to do an overnight stay in a sleep lab. Nope, not always. There are really convenient at-home tests you can do now. And maybe the biggest myth of all, it's going to disturb my partner. The reality? It does the exact opposite. By getting rid of the snoring, it helps both of you finally get a good night's sleep.
So you see, when you make that decision to treat the root cause,
You're doing so much more than just making the bedroom quieter. You are unlocking this whole world of benefits. You're literally building a healthier, happier life together.
I mean, just look at what happens. Yeah, you get quieter nights, that's the first thing. But that's just the start. Suddenly, you both have more energy, your moods are better. The person who is snoring sees their health improve like crazy. And without that nightly stress, you can actually rediscover that closeness, that connection. It's not just a fix, it's a complete upgrade for your whole relationship.
So, when it all comes down to it, here's the big takeaway. Tackling the root cause of snoring isn't just about sleep. It's a real investment in your health, in your happiness, and in the peace and harmony of your relationship.
So it really all boils down to this one question. Snoring does not have to be your life. You don't have to retreat to separate rooms. You definitely don't have to ignore serious health risks. There is a solution out there that lets you both sleep peacefully, together, in the same bed. So the only question is, are you ready to get your nights back?